Journalist Alan Garr, our guest. He's one of the people who contributed to Chuck Davis's The Chuck Davis History of Metropolitan Vancouver. His years were 2004 to 2007, but he knows a lot more. How about the Salvation Army, the Sally Ann? There was a singing group called the Hallelujah Lassies.
Yeah, that was before they were the Salvation Army, whatever it was.
That's right. It was 1887. I wrote this down so that I can appear smarter than you are. Not really.
But it is kind of that book, eh? You go through it and say, guess what happened? You know, I mean, I can just see people sitting around on a spare day and going through this and kind of, guess what, dear? You know?
Yes, and don't you love to be, I love to be the smarty pants in the car. So you're driving through Delta and you say to the kids, well, you know, there was once a typhoid outbreak in Delta. Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, river pollution, they said, partially caused by the salmon canneries. A typhoid outbreak in Delta. Doubt that happens anymore.
Not often.
But who knew? How about Mayor Taylor?
I liked him. So Mayor Taylor, this is in the 20s. He was on the first airplane flight from Victoria to Vancouver, although it was Richmond, Minaroo Park, out near the racetrack that was there.
Right.
And he jumped out of the plane, started walking forward, walked right into the propeller, got clipped in the head, ended up with a skull fracture. And then some wag in the, and he recovered, but some wag in the aeronautics industry said, you know, if he had an ounce more brains, he'd be dead.
It's very...
You have a macabre sense of humor,
I do.
Fanny.
I know.
And so does Chuck.
I said, that's why
so did Chuck.
Chuck did.
Yeah.
Yes, for sure. And we had so much fun. Giggle, giggle, giggle at things we could never say on the radio. Because he was at CBC for years.
And he loved off-colored. I mean, I got to tell you, you know, in the last couple of visits I made to him to the hospital, we'd start out with a couple of off-color jokes and then talk about the book.
Right.
Just to, but which I can't repeat here.
No,
but,
we can't. Because after all, you wrote a book about Bennett. Didn't you write a Bill Bennett book?
I did.
And a W.A.C. Bennett facts are in here because he came to City Hall in about, let's see, I arrived in '66. Bennett was at City Hall in '65, was honored, wacky, because he'd been premier for so long, or something like that.
Yeah.
Little silly things you don't think you care about.
Yeah, you
and
do.
you think, you know,
but
that's really interesting.
If you live in a province where you have a premier named Wacky and a mayor named Tom Terrific.
Tom Terrific, Tom Campbell, right?
And when Mr. Peanut runs for mayor and says, elect a nut.
We live in a good place.
And we've done that many times since.
We have, and we will continue to do that. In the old spaghetti factory, remember the Poulos brothers in the old spaghetti factory in Gastown and Gastown's beginnings? Gone now. Is it gone? Still there?
I can't remember.
They don't own it anymore, I know that, but it started in the '70s. Still there, still there.
So it's kind of, it's, you know, instead of, as I said before, you know, instead of being big events by big people, there's all these little things that people feel quite intimate with. Like, oh, I remember walking down the street and seeing that restaurant, or I remember when Bob Hunter started Greenpeace, or I remember when this happened or that happened. So you get this immediate connection with your own history, which is terrific. People in
your own history, and like Sam Feldman, impresario. He was once a doorman in this town, I think he was. Then he spun it into something better. But it's those little silly things.
Probably more stressful, though.
Probably. And the white spot in the history of Nat Bailey and all of that. And Trudeau and Maggie, when they got married, remember that story?
And Habitat.
Habitat.
You know, and those guys. I saw Paul Manning with hair.
Really? You did?
There's a picture of Paul Manning in here with hair.
Well, for heaven's sakes. Well, he doesn't have that anymore, but who knows? They've got,
less to worry about.
They've got regrow and things like that. And,
let's not pick on Paul
But Worcester
too much.
Mountain was once called London Mountain. That surprised me.
Yep.
London Mountain after whom? Not Jack London or anything. And I was reading about natives who were born here. Bill Good, born here? Bruce Allen, born here?
Actually, Bill Good was born in Winnipeg. He corrected me, but it's in the book that he was born. So it's the only error in the book.
And I found it?
Yeah,
because I believed it.
That's great. Yeah.
I obviously believe errors.
No, I walked in, I was talking to Bill the other day, and he said, there's an error in the book. I said, oh, what's that? He said, I was born in Winnipeg. I said, well, at least you made it into the book, Bill.
Well, exactly. I didn't see me in the book. I guess you'll
either.
have to write. I know.
Don't buy this book.
Don't buy this book. We're not in it. But sliced bread was in 1937. I love these little facts. Sliced bread. The first sliced bread came to Vancouver in 1937, and it was 8 cents a loaf.
Now it's about 8 cents a slice, I think.
Exactly.
No, more than that.
You can buy bread from Paris for $10 a loaf, not sliced. So where are we really going, I ask? It just
You can just
so
keep flipping.
Good. And right up until, how far? It goes all the way to 2011, right?
We've included the riots. We even have the Stanley Cup riot in there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yes, you do, and the Edgewater Casino and a few
all that
controversies.
stuff. Yeah, so it's really good.
Chuck Davis' final book went to press. There you go.
Yeah.
Lumiere and DB Bistro Moderne closed. Guess we have to close. Time to wrap. I see Trevor Linden in here, Ballard Power. And Art Auction, Diane Ferris Gallery started, says when, all of that.
You like this book, eh?
I mean, love this
it's
book.
Fun.
For $50?
It is, yeah. So as Chuck said, it's going to be fat, fun, and full of facts.
Sure.
And Tom Hawthorne said back to him, just like you, Chuck.
Just like you.
Fat, fun, and full of
How
facts.
nice to see you. What are the bees doing?
In
the winter?
They slow down, and I pray that they make it through to the spring.
I see,
yeah.
because it was a little frosty last night.
And this is supposed to be the coldest winter in the last 20 years. Hasn't hit us yet, so.
Okay, well, I'll look in here about the other coldest winter and figure that out. Thank you. Chuck Davis, the Chuck Davis History of Metropolitan Vancouver, our guest, Alan Garr.